Welcome back to The Modern Consultant. I'm your host, Marc, and on today's episode, I have an apology to issue. I recorded this episode that I am actually now putting out there 1 week ago, but I forgot to change the settings on my microphone. And so when I sent it off to my podcast team, they're like, the video looks great, but there is no audio. And so I'm now getting a chance to re-record this, and it's actually a blessing in disguise because I have new campaign data from active clients that I'm working with right now, as well as past clients to share of more on what's working in the field right now. I've been doing a lot of tests, and the two tests, I'll call it the tale of two funnels. And in January, for two different clients, both did 100K in revenue. And for one of them, they did that 100K in the span of 3 days, whereas the other did it in the span of 3 weeks. Let's say client A and client B. Client B that did the 100K in 3 weeks did a webinar approach. Now, still nothing to sneeze at because they spent around $20,000 on ads, and then they also had a self-liquidating offer, an SLO that some people call it. Essentially, it is a low-ticket offer that is somewhat related to the core offer that's going to be sold, and that did well enough to offset the ad cost by $9,000. And so they spent $20,000, but then they got back around $9,000 in sales, which then brought down the total ad cost to about $11,000, and then they still made 100K, and so that's a pretty good return. It took about 3 weeks. The structure of the funnel looks more like, okay, great, you're going to run a Facebook ad, and then people are invited to buy that self-liquidating offer, and then they can register for the webinar that they were promoting. And then after the webinar, there's like a follow-up sequence of about just 2 emails or so. Now, that model works. It's a very scalable model if you're able to do it well. If you have, enough of, say, like a customer list and you know what you're doing with Facebook ads, because Facebook ads aren't quite working as well for a lot of people, but there are people who know what they're doing who are able to make it just work with all of the changes that have occurred. That said, I want to focus on client A, who did 100K in 3 days. Now, I want to give some context around this because the structure of the funnel was very different. There were no webinars. There were no live calls, no sales calls whatsoever. And that was a pretty big win for us because it gives us a pathway to pull him out of doing a lot of manual sales work where he has to show up to be able to do the sales presentations. And so the other cool thing is that people were buying from 3 kinds of assets, basically sales emails, sales page, and text messages. That's it. And the offer prices were like $2,000, $5,000, and $10,000 tier. And so people are paying $10,000 without getting on a sales call or a sales webinar. And when I was speaking with one of my marketing mentors, he builds 8-figure marketing teams. He gave some nice kudos, which made me feel good because we're doing something right. And so I feel really good about that one. Now, to give even more details on the structure of that funnel, for those of you who are nerds of this marketing game like I am, we started running ads back in December. And so we actually had around call it about like a 6-week buildup. We had some engagement emails, welcome emails, had a lead magnet, and we were also running ads to sponsored email newsletters. And if I'm recalling this from memory, but cost per lead was hovering somewhere between $2 to $5 cost per lead, which, is very good given the high ticket nature of the items relative to the lead cost that we're able to charge there. Now, in full disclosure, the bigger list that we were marketing to was about 70,000 email subscribers. But I designed this sequence so that within the first week of somebody joining the email list, they would be invited to a wait list for the core offer. A little bit of a different approach. Didn't try to sell them anything, just delivered free value through a lead magnet that I'd also designed for this campaign. And so people joined the waitlist within the course of 1 week. And I have a very, very strong welcome sequence where I share the client's personal as well as professional life philosophies, which does really great job to spike engagement. We had people replying, with pictures of their kids and just saying that they just really love the campaign. And so I'm very big on doing goodwill campaigns like that. All that's to say, from the 70,000 people, we had about around 30,000 or so that joined from that advertising spend that we did, but we had around 40,000 pre-existing on the email list. From the campaigns that we run, we had about 6,000 or so people join the wait list. And it's from that 6,000 that we actually did the 100K, because once we opened the cart, it was really just 3 days of having that sales sequence. We also had our early bird discount, which I think we're probably going to reduce in the future. It was like a whopping 30%, very much motivated people to buy. And this is the also other interesting thing, whereas if you're doing a cart close, you might see a lot of people, purchase, when the cart opens and then when the cart closes. Those tend to be the two spikes if you're doing a launch model. However, with this, we actually saw the majority of sales happen at cart open as opposed to cart close, which is in line with the hypothesis that I had that, hey, these people are early adopters and they are very motivated to buy. And so they weren't waiting until the last minute. Sure, we still had some sales that came in at the last minute, but we didn't even really have many people in the cart abandon sequence as well. And so all of those sales coming in just 3 days was very exciting for us because it's a very repeatable model. And so now it's just a matter of us being able to find more traffic sources, running more ads, and now we want to increase the cadence. We want to see how frequently can we repeat this 100K result without doing webinars, without doing sales calls or anything like that, because that's just a very, very scalable model for us. And so now it's becoming more of a traffic game as opposed to a conversion game, because I've got that part pretty dialed in. We also did a number of upgrades to the offer as well. The offer used to be one of the highest tiers that we had for the offer before was like $1,000 offer. And then towards the end of the previous version of this campaign that we had run, I decided to test a $10,000 offer. Nobody bought it, but this time several people were buying that $10,000 offer. And so that was really great validation that the pre-sale sequence was very effective for warming people up and then also displaying the value of the offers, because I also did an entire sales page rewrite from what the control for the sales page was. And so across the email sequences, the sales page, and then just a bit of light text messaging, the fact that it was again able to bring in that much for us is pretty exciting, and I can't wait to do more of it. As a matter of fact, we're already in the process of doing more of it. That said, the following week we saw some interesting data as well, because then we opened the cart to the rest of the email list, and we were expecting a higher amount of sales, because we're like, wow, 100K, from in 3 days with no webinar. Of course, we're going to see higher from the bigger list of 70,000. And we actually saw an additional 50,000 in sales. So that was a bit underwhelming, especially because we also did a live webinar for the main list, and we had the cart closing sequence, and it was a longer it was a longer follow-up sequence. And so we opened the cart for around 4 days. We still had a little bit of a build-up before that as well. And so we did a whole lot more for the main list, only to see, less revenue, really. And even some of the revenue that came in that week was from some of the people who were on the wait list from the previous week, but then they saw the main launch and then they decided to purchase. And so many learning lessons from this one. The next steps that we're taking is to improve our targeting. And so we're going to continue to do this waitlist approach that we're taking that's working to just see if we can just continue to repeat that on a cadence. And that by itself could just be the entire business model. But we're not going to stop there. There are other products and there's an entire product suite that we're building out. And one of the cool things during this launch that I learned that I could do was create a product in 48 hours. That was really cool. It was a big challenge. And the reason for doing that is because we saw that the sales numbers were lower, right? And so I had a hypothesis that a bunch of the people were innovators and like early adopters. The terminology that I'm using there comes from Crossing the Chasm. If you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you can see my bookshelf behind me, but Crossing the Chasm is one of the books that I have on there. It talks about the technology adoption curve, and it splits up the adoption of any technology into innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. And so that's the terminology that I'm using. My hypothesis is that a bunch of the people who are on our email list are actually innovators and early adopters. However, we also, on the wait list, but for the main list, I suspect that we've got a lot of early majority and maybe even late majority as well. And the way that you sell and even create products for that group of people is very different. And so I suspected and then, spoke to my client. I was like, hey, what if we created a product for them that solves the problem that they might have that in their mind is stopping them from being able to join the core product that we have? And so I did that. And a very robust, detailed workshop. When I say workshop, I'm not talking like, oh, hey, come to this thinly guised sales pitch. We're talking about like designed outcomes. And the thing that I shared with my client is like, I want for you to be able to go into a corporate gig and deliver this to an organization of 1,000 people or more, and for them to be able to walk away with concrete outcomes. Like that's the level of quality that I like to create any product for, even if it is within the timing of a 1-hour workshop. So we did that, created the slides, created the workbook, very defined workflow with the actions, the tool that they needed to accomplish the objective, and then ways to validate whether or not the objective was accomplished. And then wrote a 1-day sales sequence with just like 2 emails to promote it on Thursday and Friday before the cart closed. And within less than like 12 hours, we had 28 people purchase it. And then a bunch of them show up for the workshop. So that was great and some quick validation, because that allows us to then go around and then test that in other funnels that we're thinking about running, because now we have a entry like low ticket offer. That could be a self-liquidating offer that then offsets the cost of running ads in the future. But that's going to be a test that we test later on. But for now, we know that it delivers outcomes. And it's something that we can sell, something that we can use as a gift. There's many different use cases for it in the future, which is something I'm very, very excited for. And it also led me to come up with another product idea that could serve as an intermediary between that lower ticket item and the core offer. And the value of that, I can't talk about what the topic is just to make sure that my client maintains competitive advantage. But it is designed to be a mass market digital product that positions him, as the leader in his industry, and also then neatly guides people to the next level of the ascension model. And so in a perfect world, that allows us to then do a front end offer, run ads to it, have a order bump, then have a one-time offer, and then, if we like, add them to the waitlist for the core offer as well. If any of that jargon didn't make sense, write to me. I'm happy to explain it. But for those of you who are very deep in marketing land, then you know the structure of the funnel that I'm talking about here. Many exciting tests that are happening. And like for this client campaign, like there was at least like 50% profit margins. And so very repeatable, very doable. And we might even be able to increase the profit margins. And the beautiful part about that is like if we're able to repeat this, it essentially allows the client to earn a full-time income in 1 month as opposed to like 1 year. If you consider what the take-home pay might be for the founder of a company, that has, many employees and that sort of thing. So it's very cool, and it gives the kinds of folks that I work with really well just a pathway to creating more of the lifestyle business that they want, while doing it in a way that gives value back to people without taking all of their time, and also makes their service business optional if they want it to be, or it augments very nicely with their service business, where the funnels that we create actually reinforce the existing business model and very easily create like upsells to their higher ticket consulting and service-based offers. Lots of fun stuff happening here. I am very excited for the very, very nice kickoff to January 2024. And if you go back in time and listen to some of the episodes that I did like back in October 2023, when I was first introducing the 9-step client roadmap, it's really nice to see that on the street level, on the front lines, testing of the model is working really, really, really well. So that's it for this week. I now have a meeting that I need to drive to and fight the traffic to be able to get there on time. But I'm going to be meeting with another one of my mentors and friends to just share with them everything that I just shared with you, and then to strategize on some next steps that are coming. Oh, and for those of you who have been patiently waiting on the curriculum for my course that that has been in development, that is, the source of what's creating these client results. I just put the finishing touches on the all of the curriculum decks, and all I've got to get done now is just the introduction and the outro. Then we can get the workbooks ready, and then we can get this thing out to the world. It's going to be, on very, very available on a very, very limited basis, because these are my trade secrets, basically, and they're working right now. And so I'll probably be licensing them, and I'll figure out the business model and stuff afterwards. But the key thing is to just focus on doing great work, knowing that it works, and continuing to prove and iterate on that model, because part of what's happening next is I'm getting requests to come in and train teams and organizations on these methods, and I have a lot of fun training, and so I'm very excited about that prospect. All of that's in the works. All of that's coming in 2024. So thank you so much for being a very loyal and very cherished and valued listener. And I'm going to be working on getting the frequency of the episodes back up once again. And I've listened and I've heard. I'm going to also be working in to do more solo episodes as well. That's going to be a very interesting shift for me in 2024, and just building out more workflows for doing that. And I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you prefer if I do more of these like in the field, on the front lines, like unscripted episodes, or do you prefer the interviews, or do you prefer, for me to do prep with like a slide deck and stuff like that? This is all a grand experiment. I am more than 40 episodes into this, but it continues to evolve, and I am always trying to learn from all of you, so that I can do my best to give you the best of what I've got, so that you can also get the best out of everything that you've got. Thanks again, and talk soon. Take care. Hey, thanks for checking out the show. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the like button, and also subscribe so you don't miss another one. It also tells us which ones that you like the most, so that we can then do more interviews like that. If you want to go from idea to implementation though, especially if you're wanting to productize your expertise so that you can scale your impact on your clients and of course grow your business, then join our email list. There we're going to talk about how modern consultants can productize their expertise so that they can have a greater impact on the world around them and live life on their terms. If that's up your alley, I hope to see you on the other side. Talk soon.